I lost weight like recently, I felt that it was more of a spiritual call. So now I know that I can stick to it because there's no external factor governing my choices.
Yeah.
And
Right
that
on.
makes a huge difference.
Totally. Yeah. The external pieces that are constantly pulling us in various directions, or sometimes those internal emotions that are trying to satisfy an empty hole, and we're trying to pull things to fill that up.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's the last part you have, right? Prabhava.
Yeah, so we come to our last specific part here is the prabhav, or the unique action that something has. So in various texts, this is translated in different ways. Sometimes it's just the unique properties of the plant, of the substance. So what area might it affect, or what action does it do? Yet I believe in the classical sense, it was a special and unique action that was sometimes opposing to what we normally might think. So a prabhav, as an example for honey, is that honey is light and tends to scrape away accumulations and mucus, where we would generally expect that honey would be drying because of its sweet taste, that because of its sticky properties, that it would be lubricating, that would be moistening, I should say, because of its sweet taste, that it would be lubricating because of its sticky properties, but it's actually the opposite. So that is a prabhav in the classical sense of Ayurveda. In the modern sense, it's just what is its most specific action that we need to think of. So licorice, as an example, moves the respiratory system. Neem cleans the blood. These are prabhavs that we think of as their specific action that they will do inside the body. And when we think of Western herbal medicine, this is actually where they start. They sort of turn the table on its head, and they start at prabhav. They think, where does it work? They go, St. Mary's thistle is a liver and blood cleansing herb. And they start with the prabhav. What is its unique properties that it works with? Or in Western herbal medicine, what is its action? What is the action that it does inside the body? Whereas I think in classical times, prabhav was largely reserved for substances that were like contradictory to what we would normally think. Sour normally doesn't build the reproductive tissues, but amalaki builds the reproductive tissues. So amalaki's prabhav, amla's prabhav, was that it could also nourish reproductive essence. So these classical prabhavs compared to modern prabhav is more like, what does it do? What action should we remember the most inside the body?
And these can be unexplained. It is more like it cannot be it can be explained with the action, but it cannot be explained based on their rasa or virya or vipaka.
Yeah, that's right, that it's difficult to understand why it might do those things from its natural rasa virya vipak. And although the rasa virya vipak is an amazing system and it really is accurate 80 to 95% of the time, like everything in this creation, there's always an exception. In one of my teacher's words, he would say that if it's not a contradiction, it's not real. If it's not a paradox, it's not real. It's the nature of being down here in creation that to some degree there's always little contradictions amongst it, and that a good generalization works 80% of the time. And it's important to remember that what we're looking here is a generalized rule, the taste, thermal, post-digestive, and we can see why the Western science model, Western herbalism, turned the table on their head, because they want to go specific all the time. They don't want to start general, and I think it's a real loss. I think it's very important to start general, because when we start general, we absorb a bigger picture. We think about connections. How does this taste connect to the body, to the senses, to the environment? How does it influence elements and all of those things when we start general? When we start specific, we miss out on the connective detail. And it's a really common thing. The Western science model wants to go down to the specific. This herb is a laxative herb, rather than going, this herb is sweet, sour, salty, and it has laxative properties to it. That's going to be general to specific. It's a laxative herb like amalaki that is cooling, or it's a laxative herb like harataki that is heating. Now, knowing these tiny little differences is going to allow me to prescribe it in a much more good for the whole body way, rather than just, I need to get poo out of the colon way. It's not very holistic. And that's what tends to happen when we use the Western model and we go straight to specific, straight to Prabhava, straight to unique action.
Yeah, it's because it is not that every body is going to react similarly to every herb, because the digestive system, how impaired it might be, or how different, genetic it would be, and how their digestive system is working will really depend how well they would even digest a particular herb. And I've often heard that before you could prescribe a particular herb, you have to also fix their digestive system, because you have to be sure that the herb is actually going to help.
Yeah, to penetrate, to be able to get to the tissue that we want it to. Absolutely. And I think
sorry, I was just saying that Ayurveda is also so clear that no matter what herbs you give, if you don't fix their diet, and if you don't first get their entire system to work based on their prakriti, on their, what they need at the moment, if you don't fix it at that time, then the herbs will not heal the underlying situation either.
Yeah. Without ahara, food, dietary, then substance is medicine somewhat useless, because it's not getting to the cause. And then you could take that one step further and go, without vihara, lifestyle, daily conduct, food and medicine is also useless, because we didn't get to the true causes. So we're always able to trace a little bit further up, and lifestyle being the most important first level to start. It's really what I focus on, is lifestyle medicine, and then these are secondary, because this forms the causes. It's what we do each day.
Dincharya.
Yeah, dinacharya, exactly. And our last one to wrap it up is tropism or satmya. It's the affinity that a substance has for a certain organ or a channel. In Ayurveda, this is usually described through the srota system, the specific plumbing systems that the food or the substance move towards. As an example, Brahmi, Bakopamoni era, has an affinity for the Majjavaha srotas, that's the brain channels. So it moves up into the head, and its medicine has a predominant action on the brain and the head. The licorice that we talked about before has an effect on the respiratory channels of the body. So it moves into the lungs and these regions. Turmeric, haridra, has a specific effect on the colon and the liver and the blood. So it moves into these channels and these regions. Knowing where a substance predominantly moves towards can then mean that you can use a substance with its taste, thermal action, post-digestive taste, and it will affect that specific area, that specific tissue the most. So it's important to know that not all substances affect all of the body. They will have a predominant area that their function works with the most.
Okay, yes, that makes sense. This, when you say Brahmi works for the brain, is that also somewhere connected to the direction, the things that are done in Panchkarma, or the way the nasal spray is given? Is that also in line with direction, why we give certain medicines either through your navel or through your nose? Because of the direction property, you want the ghee, like if there's a Brahmi ghee, then you want it to go to the brain. You don't want it to go down.
Yeah, in the sense of, if we first look at its relationship to satmya first, we would say Brahmi ghee as an example. Ghee has a satmya for the brain and the liver. So if we want to deliver medicines to the brain or the liver, then we would put the medicines in ghee, and they're going to move towards those areas quicker. So Brahmi, as we said before, has an affinity for the brain as well. So therefore, putting a medicine that has an affinity for the brain in a substance that has an affinity for the brain, satmya, to that channel, then it's going to go there easier. Then we come into where we apply the medicine. And if we just super simplify that, wherever we want to have the effect, or wherever we want to pull the dosha from, the diseases, we use the closest holes to be able to do that. So if the disease is in the head, we could be using the nose, we could be using the eyes, and we could be using the ears for all of those conditions. Depending on how we wanted to influence, what medicine it was, we use the closest holes to be able to facilitate that. Now, our skin is considered holes as well. These are all little pores that are here. So if we had a condition that's here on the arm, then taking the medicine by mouth is not the same as rubbing a medicated oil and then putting some form of paste across the body. That's going to stimulate the medicine to move into this limb much more effectively because there are holes all through here. Ayurveda will use all of the holes of the body to both push medicines in and to draw medicines out. And in the back of the nasal cavity is where cerebrospinal fluid drains. So that's the fluid that's all around the head. So when we use medications here, we have the ability to increase the drainage of the head as well. And then we can also, as we move medicines into here, it contacts the lymph, the sinus cavities, and will tend to increase medicines that move into the head as well.
Is that why in ancient times, a lot of people, especially in South India, they would use coconut oil and massage it on the head? So, because coconut oil, they do say is good for brain. And because is it because of the absorption that happens and the way you're using it is going to make a difference, like when you're taking it as a nasal?
Also, because in southern India, it's a hotter climate there as well. And the virya, the effect of heat, is that heat tends to rise up in the body. So they're in a hotter climate where more heat is moving towards the head. The properties of coconut oil are cooling. So placing the coconut oil on the head tends to cool down the region. Now, at the same time, if we would place oil here and keep it really oily, and then we would go out in the sun, oil it will hold things and it'll hold heat as well. So I'm not saying go out and get really hot with oil on for the day, but if you were to finish the day, place oil on, it will cool that whole region. It will allow the body to have more evenness in its heat and cold that takes place. If we really freeze the body, the oil will stay cold for too long. If we really heat the body, the oil will stay hot for too long. But in the middle, it will increase our adaptability that's there. And putting any oil on the head is going to start to increase circulation towards the brain, even more so if that oil has herbs that are medicated inside it that are specific for that region of the body.
So coconut oil for head massage is ideal for South India, but if people are living in a colder region, then may not be a great idea, I guess.
Yeah, it may not be the best oil for them long term. I'd use a little bit of it, but I know in our modern day times there's quite a craze around using coconut oil everywhere. My generalization is if the coconut oil is solid, like it goes solid at room temperature in cold climates, then you probably don't need it unless you're using it as a specific medicine for pitta at certain times. Whereas if the coconut oil is liquid, you're in the climate where it's liquid and it's able to be used, and that's probably a bit of a loose generalization. It's absolutely not a fixed rule, but it gives people a good idea to go like, did the coconut oil grow around here? Were there coconuts available? Maybe not at this time of the year, not when it was solid. Don't get me wrong, you could still use little bits of it, just don't have it as your oil.
I don't eat coconut oil, but I sort of feel that it sort of makes sense why people should eat according to region, because in South India, like you said, the like the divine nature of God would, or Mother Nature would not create certain things in certain places for its like, because now there's export import. Like you would not see coconut grow in North America, but you would not see coconut grow in Himalayas, but you would see it grow in South India. You would see it grow in Orissa. There was a specific reason for it. It was the climate, which was helping them digest it, and it was helping them go through that process. That if they used it, it's like you said, if it is very cold and it is it's packed jam, then you don't need that much oil on your head either. So it sort of makes sense, like what you're saying to me, that it also depends on the region.
That's right. Mother Nature guides us. Our medicine is often close to us.
Yeah, our medicine is often close to us. For sure. It was wonderful.
That brings the little introduction to Dravya Guna to a close there. And I'd love to continue to talk. I know have another person that's meeting soon, so it won't be possible today. I'll have to start to wrap up there. Is there any last thoughts or questions that you have, Gauri, before we complete?
I think I asked you a lot of questions, and and probably at this point of time, I think I'm okay, because a lot of my doubts got cleared just through Ayurveda, regarding honey, ghee, bitter taste, neem, licorice, and your Apana Prana medicine has licorice in it, right?
That's right. It's one of the herbs amongst it.
It's one of the herbs. So yes, this is of course not a medical advice for anybody. It's just that I was interested in knowing, because I might be getting it for myself. And I learned a lot about rasa, about the taste and how they're helping our body, especially the astringent, why astringent taste helps the leaky gut. A lot of good information. You've pretty much explained everything in a way where a person can understand, who can even who has been following through science. They can also understand the concepts, because you're good at transmitting that knowledge to people. So it was wonderful to get through this entire complicated topic. And I hope that our viewers are actually going to like it. And just to let all our viewers know, Kimmana will be back this year again with us, and we will have a webinar with him, and people can join him and ask him questions at the end. And we will soon update that in the coming month or so, when that will be. So we are looking forward to have him back with us on Karunamayi Holistic. So I thank all the viewers, and I thank especially Kimmana for taking our time to go through this such a difficult topic with us. It was amazingly explained. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. It's been great to share with you all. I look forward to the next time. Namaste.
Thank you. Namaste. Thank you.